Hello, welcome to Friday, October 30th daily instructional video. Today we're going to continue reading poetry and looking at mental images. Before we get started in that, please do your warm-up in the Google form. We have a free write Friday as always. Continue to do that if that's what you wish to do. If you'd like to continue writing whatever you like, make sure it's always school appropriate. And excuse me, if you don't know what to write about, then tell me about who you or where you would haunt if you were a ghost and explain why. All right, take a moment and complete your warm up. So today we're reading two poems. Incident is the first poem, and here is Natasha Trethway, a little bio about her, and this is also in your online link to the poems. You can read the background information. She was also the poet that was in the newscast video that read her poem Incident to us. And here's a picture of her and her family, and her mom and her dad. The next person we're going to do, Martin Espada. And here is a video that you can watch of him reading the poem that we are going to read today. So some background knowledge that you need to know about Incident. As you know, whenever Trethway was reading the poem to us, you're going to hear phrases that she used of white men in their gowns and cross-trussed with like a Christmas tree and charred grass. And she's referring to the white supremacist hate group, the KKK, in her poem, who would go to homes of black people and burn crosses in their yard. And for the purpose of just instilling fear and terrorizing people. Afraid, African or black people often dim their lights and close their curtains, being sure to keep quiet until the men left. In the incident, the author is describing this is the very thing that happened to her and her family. So what I need you to do is go back to your link from yesterday. Let's go to this. You read the poem, For My People. You circle words that you didn't know and annotated the meaning by defining the word in the annotation box. I asked you to highlight the first three words of each stanza and then for you to summarize what the stanza is talking about, like a brief little summary of each stanza. So you did that yesterday and did your little activity. If you scroll down, the next poem is Incident. So you'll read and annotate again according to the slides. And then who burned for the perfection of paper. And again, you will read and annotate this poem as well. They're not very long. When you finish that, you have a worksheet to complete. So again, going over let me go over the annotation. So remote learners, you will be highlighting yellow words that you don't know and define them in the annotation box. You're going to underline important ideas and explain the importance in the annotation box and identify any figurative language. You might see some similes, metaphors, repetition, alliteration, anything that you see, make sure you label it or identify it and then label it in the annotation box. And then highlight your imagery blue. Oops. So on your worksheet, with the incident, you're going to, again, read that poem, and then we're going to be looking at these mental images. So as you reread the incident with your group, form and compare multisensory images of a selected detail. So I've already given you your selected detail, charred grass and wicks trembling. If you experience these details in person, what would you see, smell, hear, and feel? So think about charred glass and grass. When you see charred grass, what are you seeing? What are you smelling? What are you hearing? And what does it make you feel? And Wicks trembling, again, go through those 5 multi-sensory details and then write your response here. And then there's 3 questions below this mental image activity, and continue to answer those questions using complete sentences. For the poem, Who Burns for the Perfection of Paper? Again, we're working on that mental images created in the poem. You're going to identify words and phrases that help you construct your visualization. So if you're able to draw, you can, or just use the description and your own words, and then use the author's words over here and then tell what that visual image that gives you. And again, continue your questions. And this is what the worksheet, sorry, let me go to Google Classroom. So there's your warm up, and this is your worksheet for today. So you'll type your responses in here, answer these 3 questions using complete sentences. Make sure you avoid any unclear pronouns. Don't say he. Make sure you use the correct pronouns, though. Remember, Incident is written by a female poet, and the other poem, Who Burns for Perfection, is written by a male poet. So make sure you use if you're talking about the speaker, say the speaker, or if you're referring to the poet, make sure you say the poet or the poet's name. Okay, so there's a mental image activity right there in your 3 questions for Incident. On page 2, Who Burned for Perfection of Paper? Here's your mental image activity, and then 3 questions to answer. All right, and okay. And when you're done all that, here's your exit ticket. How can words inspire change? What have you learned about the power of words from these poems? You don't have to write anything down on anything. I just really want you to think about that, because next week we will be doing our expository writing, and it will have to do with the prompt, how can words inspire change? So think about the pieces of literature that you used. Think of an answer, because you're going to have to answer that question and then support it with evidence. And you can think of, you can use the poetry we've read, you can use the pieces of Martin Luther King that we have gone over, or Senor Novoa. Those are all going to be great examples to use to help support your answer. So if you have any questions, just please email me, message me, and happy Halloween, and y'all have a safe weekend.